Welcome into the special episode 23 of the Middle of Nowhere Gaming Podcast. The second of this week, actually, because we had scheduling issues, as I said in the earlier episode this week. Blah, 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 blah. So now we're going to do a more normal podcast. And today I only have one member with me, and it is Johnny.
What's going on, everybody?
Oh, just doing my stuff.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Normal is such a relative term. Normal podcast. But
normal.
Hey, no big deal.
Yeah, I was to say, there is no such thing as normal. We are special people. You anything like worth mentioning? Anything you're doing exciting yet, or gaming world, or real world, or?
I mean, hopefully they had a chance to check it out on the site. But the biggest thing that I experienced this last week, and it was almost a week ago at this point. Twitch beat Pokemon, and that was an emotional moment for me. I'd been keeping track of it at the beginning. I did the write up on it for the site, and I was not awake when that happened. I was asleep like a normal human being, but I did see them start to try to beat the Elite Four, and I was like, I knew it was going to happen, and I woke up and it was like glory from heaven. Our Lord Helix had shined upon us, had blessed Bird Jesus and Electric Bird Jesus and our all-terrain Venomoth, and said, "So let it be written, so let it be done." And we beat the evil that was the Dome, his Prophet Flareon and Blue, and it was glorious, and that spoke to me on a very spiritual level, and that was me this week, as I just was recounting the gospel of the Helix to many of my friends. And yeah, they started doing Pokemon Crystal now. Hey, it's still pretty funny to watch, because it's still a bunch of people trying to do one thing and they're doing it terribly. I don't know if it's going to be as fun or funny to sort of enjoy, and sort of the meta narrative that comes out of it as the first go around. But hey, obviously they wanted to just like, hey, let's just keep going with this and see how long they can run it till they run it to the ground. But yeah, no, that for me, I was like, that was sort of my big gaming thing. I've been playing through some old stuff. I did beat Remember Me.
Ooh, nice.
That game is just so, it's like a parfait of shit. It's like you sit there and it's like, and at the very bottom there's like something you really want there, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, but everything else on top of that is just like, oh, this is hot garbage.
I told you.
I listen, I love games that are more fun than good. Like, I get it. And Remember Me had so many good ideas. Like, there was a really good game there. The problem is I had two guys come over because they wanted to see it. And I honest to God picked up the controller with one hand and just tapped and just spammed the two attack buttons.
Yep.
For 5 minutes. 10 minutes in one fight. Until I just won, and I'm like, this is half the game.
Yep.
And they're like, I see what you're getting at.
It was ridiculous. It was
the story was really intriguing. I loved the world. Aesthetically, it was gorgeous. just so many layers of shit on top of it. It was so depressing, because I was like, oh, you guys I would have loved to seen what their next product would have been.
Yeah.
Obviously the studio's gone, because obviously you don't put a game out and not learn something, for good or for ill, right?
Yeah.
But I would have loved to have seen what they'd taken away from that, because I feel like if they'd made a game where the combat mechanics were bearable, at least, I think they would have had a much better experience on their hands. But it's neither here nor there. I will not remember that game. Bad pun. Segue your ball.
Well, to on top of Remember Me, like you were saying, that battle took you 10 minutes or whatever. So like it wasn't just the fact that the battle system was horrible; it was the fact that those battles lasted forever.
Oh, I would call them bullet sponges, but you're punching them.
Yeah.
So I guess they're punching bags. But anyway,
ridiculous. Moving on.
It was just I really wanted that game to be on the level of like, say, an Enslaved, or even, well, DMC was actually really good, but on a level of like, say, an Enslaved or something, where you're like, this is not the greatest game, but it's still worth playing. It's still actually good. It's still recommendable. And I'm like, I can't recommend Remember Me in good conscience.
I can't either. I was just
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, move on. 4 days until Titanfall, and 14 until Infamous Second Son. So good news. March.
Christmas 2.0.
Exactly. Good times, good times. Okay, let's move on. Let's get into the news. The big stuff. Get into the news from nowhere.
I want to get into the news.
Oh, hotness.
Anyways.
Okay. Yeah, that's getting weird.
Story number 1 for the week. The PlayStation 4 has sold over 6 million units worldwide. That's not like... I feel like a lot of stories these last couple weeks have just been not that big of a surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 6 million units. Basically the last time Sony had made an announcement, it was at 5. This was almost a month ago. And surprise, this is the Japanese. The Japanese got their PS4s. It launched in Japan. So 320,000 first 2 days. So yeah, 6 million, and that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, exactly. Everyone's been expecting this ever since basically the first 24 hours it went on sale in America. So This is not a surprise.
I mean, it's, once again, I think we talked about this before, great news for Sony. I mean, hey, more bully for them. They're doing great. And they deserve the win. They've been working hard. I mean, the PlayStation 4 was designed from the ground up with game developers and gamers in mind. And that strategy is obviously paying off for them in dividends and dividends of dividends.
What is more interesting about this story is that we haven't heard how many Xbox Ones have been sold since the beginning of the year. That number hasn't been announced.
True enough. I mean, Microsoft's really, say what you will, but their PR and spend department is top notch, and I guarantee you if they had a way to spend something positively for them, they would.
Yeah.
I guarantee you next week when Titanfall launches, you're definitely going to see Microsoft shooting some numbers out. And honestly, I think Titanfall is the game that will help them move consoles. I think long term, it's not going to be that big of a swing, only because Titanfall is a third-party game. Microsoft has exclusive rights to the first one, but they don't have money bins big enough to pay Respawn enough money to make that game entirely, that whole series, exclusive. And basically, because there's, at this point now, over 6 million PS4s out there, and I guarantee you there's a lot of that number who are very jealous of the Xbox One right now, who would pay good money to play that game.
Yep.
And I think Respawn, those guys, really smart. They know what they're doing. I think they're not the type to be you can't pay us enough money to throw away that consumer base. So we're probably not going to see a Titanfall 2 for probably 4 years, maybe 3 if we're lucky. But you know what? Microsoft's definitely going to use this boost this month, this next week, to their advantage. Like I said, I think long term, Titanfall is going to be a boon, less to Microsoft and more to just next gen in general.
Yeah, it'll be surprising not to hear some sort of number spin that they're going to throw out either this week or just by the end of the month, talking about how overall this month we rocked and we sold over 1 million units or 2 million units in this month alone or something like that. It's going to be a big number. I doubt 2 million in a month, but we'll see.
Yeah, they're going to sit there and say something. I guarantee you that you will see. Infamous is going to be really big, but. And it's been put up as sort of a hero, a banner game for Sony on the PlayStation 4 right now.
Yeah.
But that series has never been known, if you will, at that level. And so, you're going to see that game move some systems, but I think not nearly as much as Titanfall. I think you're going to see Microsoft at the end of the month just sitting there being like, hey, we sold X amount more units than Sony did this last go-around. Honestly, I think it's been said before, when those systems sell, whether it's an Xbox One or PlayStation 4, everybody wins.
Yeah.
So, I think, like I said, Microsoft's going to have a good month this month, regardless. I guarantee you they're going to see a little bit of growth from Titanfall. And you and I talked about before we started recording, Dark Souls 2 comes out this month as well. That's coming out on the 360 and the PS3. So you're going to see, obviously, that make a big dent in sales, too. So.
And it's worth noting that Infamous, while it will be competing with Titanfall, it doesn't come out until the 21st. So it'll only have 10 days this month to sell units. And so that's not a whole lot of time. While Titanfall will have most of the month. It'll have 20 days.
This is true. The other thing that Infamous does have on Titanfall, and I think this might make a big difference, if you pre-ordered it, you get a beanie. You don't get a mech when you pre-order Titanfall. I mean, I would if I could get a Titan,
Yeah.
they would have had my money.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I would have bought an
but
Xbox One for that.
Sucker Punch said, "I'm going to give you a beanie." And you know what? Here in North Carolina, I don't know if you know this. There's power outages everywhere. There's ice everywhere. I could use a beanie, and Sony is providing that for me, and that's why they have my money.
Ah,
That's why they have my money, Courtney.
good.
Keeping my head warm.
I actually heard today that Infamous pre-orders are outnumbering the Last of Us pre-orders from last year.
I did see that, which I frankly consider mind-boggling because The Last of Us was pre-ordered so heavily. And once again, going back to what we just talked about earlier, I didn't think Infamous was really that big.
Yeah, but when you think about it, it's going to be the only huge title on the PlayStation 4. So like maybe it's everyone's just finally like, all these 6 million people are like, we need a big game, and Infamous is the only one. Yeah, exactly. So that could be it. Okay, moving on. Number 2.
Speaking of heroes.
Segue. Batman Arkham Knight was announced by Rocksteady Studios. It'll be the 4th and final game in the Arkham series, and it'll launch sometime in 2014 on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. That's exciting.
Rocksteady Batman. That is the nectar of the gods right there.
Oh, yeah. What we really need to talk about here, though, is the fact that they decided to only release on next-gen consoles.
It's messy, but I respect it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've been doing this gaming thing for a while, and at some point, you just gotta say, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. You close the door on the old ones, and we gotta move on.
Move the fuck on.
And I think Rocksteady, I think they had such success with the first 2 games, they had enough leeway to tell Warner Brothers, like, hey guys, like this is what we want to do. We can't make this game on a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360, so we're putting it on the new stuff. And if you want us to do it, you're gonna have to deal.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait. Which explains why Origins was developed by somebody else.
Yes, I actually skipped out on Origins. Purposefully. It's elitist of me, but I don't care.
It's probably a good idea because it wasn't nearly as good, in my opinion.
I also heard it. It still has bugs in it. They went on the record being like, "Yeah, we're not going to fix those. We're going to focus on DLC." And I was like, "Well, then, I guess I'm never going to play that."
It had horrible texture popping and frame rate issues. Like the further I got into the game, like the bigger the save file or something like that on my PS3, it would just like slow down, and like texture of all the buildings would just not appear until I was like way into it, and it was horrible.
That's disappointing. And I love Deathstroke. He's like one of my favorite DC villains, and I kid you not, he and really the Suicide Squad sort of understory and backstory that was sort of slithering in the behind the scenes of the origin story.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sort of into that, and I'm like, the Suicide Squad's great. But I was like, I can't play a broken game. It gets me way too riled up.
So do you like Deathstroke and Arrow?
Dude, Arrow is, if we could side note into not a video game conversation, that was fucking awesome.
I know, right? Oh my god. It is one of the best shows on TV right now. Holy crap.
Oh, it's so good. I don't even, the listeners who may or not have watched this week's episode, they're a meme, Ermagerd memes that would just explain my feelings. But anyways,
it's badass.
Side note, people, if you like good superhero shows, if you don't like superhero shows and you like good, CW drama, the dude is shirtless like half the time.
Yeah.
You should watch Arrow.
And hot chicks.
Yeah, dude. There's good looking chicks there. So yeah, anywho, backtracking.
So
Batman Arkham Knight. I'm really excited for it. I've really liked the past 2 Rocksteady games. There is one detail they haven't announced yet, and this might not be that big of a deal for some people. For me, it's not a make it or break it, but it's very close. I want to know who's writing the game. Paul Dini, who was sort of the mastermind behind the original Batman the Animated Series, created the character of actually Harley Quinn, who they then brought into the comics. He's the guy who wrote and basically helped direct and produce the first 2 Arkham games. That was his thing. He had nothing to do with Arkham Origins whatsoever. And so I'm very curious to know if he's penning or has a hand in Arkham Knight. Because to me, what always made the Arkham games so special is they felt like a grown-up and a continuation of that original animated series to
Yeah.
a certain degree, especially because they used the majority of the original voice cast. The only ones that they really switched out were Troy Baker and Nolan North coming in for Two-Face and Penguin, respectively.
Yeah.
And then, oh gosh, I forgot her name. That's terrible because she's great. Tara Strong took over as Harley Quinn in Arkham City.
Yeah.
The original voice actress from the animated series was Harley Quinn in Arkham Asylum. Point being, it's always felt like this was sort of the natural sort of flow of things, like the animated series to these type of games. And I really hope that Dini has a hand in this, because I feel like I would love to see his take on the closure that they're bringing to whatever story they're wanting to tell here. If not, I mean, I'm still going to play it. I mean, like I said, Rocksteady's making it. They have an incredibly well-proven track record. But it's definitely one of those fanboy things for me that I'm like, man, I just, it wouldn't feel right. It's going to be feeling weird enough that, I mean, as far as we know, the Joker's not in the game. Spoilers for like a 3-year-old game at this point.
Yeah.
Arkham City. Yeah, the Joker dies.
Yeah.
End of Arkham City.
He croaks.
It's sort of a big deal.
Yep.
I mean, even at the end, Courtney, did you have a chance to play Harley Quinn's Revenge?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I mean, even at the end of that, there's no resolution. Like, she's caught. You think Robin might be dead. He's fine. And then Batman just is like, yeah, no, this is still screwed up. And he just flies off. And you're like, okay. Like,
fuck
he's
this.
not, but it's basically he's not coping well.
No.
And they've said Arkham Knight takes place 1 year after Arkham City ends.
So he's probably like secluded for a year in his cave or something. Or...
I mean, if we're going to nitpick, if you noticed in the trailer, it's a different suit than what he's been wearing in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. That was sort of a classic bat suit. This is straight up like armor tech at this point. So I don't think he's coping well with this at all.
Yeah. He also looks different. I noticed he doesn't look the same as he did in the first 2 games, which is something that happens when you get better graphics and everything like that. But still,
it's true. This could be the next gen shine. I actually had a friend of mine get really. He told me, he's like, I got really worried for a second because I thought I saw Ben Affleck's chin. And then I realized, and I was like, man, it's not. No, just don't get worried about that. It's a different conversation.
I don't know. I'm excited about the Batmobile. That's fucking awesome.
I mean, if I can ride around in Gotham City like I'm playing Just Cause 2 and just driving around the car, jumping out of the car, gliding a dude in the face, hopping back into the car, I mean, sure, hours of fun.
That'll be nice.
I am looking forward to whatever ridiculous reason they give for having no people in the streets, as always.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase. No civilians, no citizens of Gotham.
I thought I heard a theory on that or an announcement on that, but I don't remember what the fuck it was.
I mean, the beginning of the trailer, Scarecrow is saying, like, you leave the city or I will murder. Whatever he says. And I mean, you see them running away. And so, I mean, that could be the reason enough. I mean, once again, I didn't play Origins, but I know the premise was, no one's out and about because it's Christmas.
It's Christmas.
And I was just like, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard.
Yeah, it's like there would be somebody out there,
As someone who works retail, whether it's 11 p.m. Christmas night because I'm getting ready to open for the day after Christmas, or I'm staying open late Christmas Eve because it's the day before Christmas, like, there were people out and about. Shoot, man, gas stations are open on Christmas. I mean, I'm just saying, Batman needs to get his car filled up. Someone should be there for him. That's accurate. That's realism.
Okay. Let's move on.
So yeah, Arkham Knight, supposedly coming out in October. Very excited.
Yeah. We'll pre-order that one. That's for sure.
That's because if you do, you get Harley Quinn. That's what they say. That's what the people are saying. You can play as Harley Quinn like you play as Catwoman.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
So, she might have a giant mallet. I'm in. Speaking of, she might be cameoing in next week's Arrow. Just throwing that out.
Yeah, I saw that she might be coming in. I was like, oh no, yes,
because she's part of the Suicide Squad.
That's gonna be so cool.
Speaking of things that don't cause squads to commit suicide type missions, Twitch is now streaming is going to be coming to mobile devices. Next little news story we got here. Basically. Everyone knows the Twitch app's been out for iOS and Android for a while. You can watch stuff, participate in the chat. Now they're coming out with the app to have the ability to actually stream your mobile games to your Twitch account. Basically, they're like, hey, you can do this on your PC and consoles. You should probably be able to do this with your mobile devices too. Courtney, have you ever been interested in actually like streaming your cell phone games?
First of all, I haven't played a cell phone game since I was in high school, so it's been a good 5 or 6 years, probably. So no.
All of a sudden, I feel very old.
I'm sorry. I'm almost 24.
I've been out of high school for 10 years at this point.
Only a few years longer than me. Only a few years longer.
Only. So you don't play any cell phone games?
No, I don't. I'm not a Flappy Bird guy. Well, first of all, I don't have an iPhone. So like I don't have all the iOS or whatever fucking games that all these Apple people have.
See, I do have an Android phone, and I do have the newest OS on there. So I mean, I do play occasional stuff, but it's completely time waster things. So I mean, I'll sit there and I'll fess up. I'm a fan of Where's My Water? It's a physics based puzzle game. So you know what? I'm in.
I've never heard of it. So
you literally drag your finger across the screen, water falls down. It's all about the water physics and like steam physics. Anyways, Google it. It's dumb. It's made by Disney.
If you don't stream this whenever Twitch comes, I will be upset.
I mean, if you want, we can have a middle of nowhere gaming. Where's My Water Twitch stream where it's like I'll just sit here and like still just my fingers just dragging across.
Yes.
They'll be the best.
Have your phone camera on you or whatever, chatting with everybody.
So I'll sit. Yeah, we'll have that, and then I'll also pull up my Tiny Death Star, which is once again another like free to play, stupid time waster game where I'm sitting there like I need to build more levels for my Death Star. Let's wait 24 hours for my detention center to build. These aren't things that like I necessarily want to share with people. Or it's like Twitch is always about like, hey, it's all about sort of sharing in the gameplay, like whether it's you want to watch it and see a game that you're interested in. Or like being like, look how awesome I am at this game. I don't feel like mobile games, or at least certain mobile games, really work with that sort of type of thing. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, some iOS games like Year Walk, some more narrative-driven ones that might be interesting. You know?
Yeah.
But I don't want to watch someone stream like The Room, like the puzzle game, right? Where I'm like, oh look, you solved the puzzle. That's good for you. Like, I don't see the draw there. It's cool that you can do it. I don't think this is going to be that big of a thing.
Like when I was reading the story, the first thing that came to mind was, what if this was available when Flappy Bird blew up? Like, oh my God, I could just imagine all of the Twitch streams of it and just people talking like shit on each other, like, oh, you're horrible at this, or like people trying to break records and shit.
It would have been like, because that game needed more internet vitriol.
It was big enough as it was.
No kidding. So yeah, this is cool. I'm just like, whatever. It's a thing.
It's a
good
thing.
For Twitch.
It happened, or it's
right?
happening.
It's happening. I mean, what's going to be interesting is if obviously a lot of people have. I don't know why you'd want to play something on your phone like this, but a lot of people have emulators on their phones.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm really curious if they'll allow streaming of stuff like that. It's like, hey, I'm playing. I mean, they let you play. Obviously, certain emulators, certain ROMs on Twitch via your PC or your Mac nowadays. I'd be curious if someone's like, hey, this is my iPhone run on speedrun on Mario. And it's like, okay. So glad that works for you, I don't know. I'll be interested to see where this goes, but as of right now, like I don't necessarily see the draw. But good for them on expanding their stuff.
Yep. Might as well. Next on the news, Watch Dogs release date has been announced.
Oh my God, that game's still coming out.
Yeah, May 27th. Ooh, we're only 2 months away now. 2 months and 20 days away from Watch Dogs on all devices other than Wii U, basically.
And that might never happen.
Yeah, it says it's coming, just not soon.
Sorry, Lou. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
That's never gonna happen.
Doubt it will ever come, but do it. But whatever. I'm pretty excited. I was excited for Watch Dogs on release day, like the release of the PlayStation 4, and then it was like a month out when they said, you know what? Sorry, we're gonna delay it. I was like, no.
Yeah, I ended up getting Killzone and Assassin's Creed 4 because Watch Dogs was not there. I was definitely part of that crowd that was like, this is the game, and then I was like, wow, that close. You pulled it.
Yep.
The press release that got out recently said they needed the time, that the game was feature complete at launch, but it wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. And I'm like, you know what? If that is true, if there's no backdoor shenanigans going on, awesome. Take the time you need. If the game's better for it, cool.
Yeah, exactly. I saw a NeoGAF video or whatever. Did you see that video of like the texture popping and stuff on Watch Dogs?
I don't think I saw it. Are you talking about where they compared the original launch trailer with what they showed recently, the most recent preview?
No, no, it was just like a few second clip of like him driving a car in Watch Dogs and like ramping over a bridge or something, and like the texture everywhere on the bridge was just like going in and out and stuff, and
Hmm.
like they were making the point of like since the game is going to be cross generational, how they had to dumb it down basically, which caused even more glitches and problems and stuff, rather than if they had just kept it next gen.
Interesting. I've not seen it. I'll look into that. I mean, the one thing about Watch Dogs that I will say, I'm still excited for it to a certain degree,
Oh yeah.
but I think it has become the poster child for why games shouldn't be announced so flippin' early.
Yeah, when
And,
was it announced? Wasn't it like
uh,
2011?
yep, about 3 years ago, because
Yeah.
it was the first next gen announcement that and no one could say it was next gen because the consoles hadn't even been announced yet. It was like it's coming to stuff. Everyone's like, "Oh, I see what you did there." So
We
I mean,
know.
right? I mean, and so it's one thing where it's like everyone got very excited for it, and it burned really brightly, really quickly, and it's just been so long. And then obviously having it be pushed back from the launch, I think it's going to need a really good press bump here in the next couple of months to really get Steam going for it again.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, a lot of the previews of the game came out recently, along with this release date info, and I mean, the majority of them are shining. They're like, no, this is great. It's fun. It's fun to screw around in Chicago.
Y-
Um,
Yeah, I think what's going to really help it is if it is a good game, When it comes out, if it gets good reviews and
Sage advice.
everybody says, well, what I'm saying is you're talking about how it's died down, the popularity and everyone being excited for it. But like once it comes out and if everybody starts raving about it again, who did buy it, like all the other people who were like, I'm just gonna wait or whatever, then they're gonna start buying back into it. I think that will be like that week of and the week before is gonna be huge for Watch Dogs.
Yeah, I mean, word of mouth is going to be, I think, really be a big deal for this game when it does come out because people are obviously, if it is good, people are obviously going to get excited about it again. Obviously, you'll have that nice little "and they'll tell two friends" and the Wayne's World effect. And so, yeah, I mean, I want to be more excited than I am about the game because, like I said, I am one of those lapsed believers, if you will,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like, I was like, yes, Watch Dogs, it is the coming of the next gen. And now I'm sort of like, like good. Like you know what? Like I've played some really good next gen games, and I mean, say what you will, Infamous is going to be another open world game coming out this month, and I am far more excited about that one right now than I am about
Yeah.
Watch Dogs.
So
Maybe
am
when
I.
I'm done with Infamous, I'll be chomping at the bit for something new, and like yeah, Watch Dogs will fill that void perfectly. But right now, I'm finding it more eclipsed in the shadow of what is about to come here in a couple weeks.
Well, and I think what's also going to help Watch Dogs is that right now, as of right now, there's not a whole lot of release dates announced for June. And so the fact that it's coming out the last few days of May could really help it. Everyone's going to be like, well, we have no games coming out next month. And Watch Dogs looks pretty good, so we might as well get it. Because that will hold people over for a while, because it is an open world game, and it should be
Mm,
pretty long. Other than Wolfenstein coming out the week before, or a
sure
few days,
enough,
which I'm getting that also.
because you want that Doom beta.
Oh yeah, not really, but I just want Wolfenstein. I want Wolfenstein. That's all I want. I don't really care about Doom right now.
uh, well,
Well,
speaking of doom and gloom, see, I'm getting really good at this.
segue.
The Last of Us has been announced that Sony, through partnering with Screen Gems, known for terrible, terrible movies like Resident Evil.
Hey, I love those
Those
movies.
movies, we will not get into this here, but those movies are terrible.
Oh,
Those movies are terrible.
die.
Okay. Uh, they're going to make a Last of Us movie. Sam Raimi is currently attached to direct. He directed the original Spider-Man trilogy, and most famously, in my opinion, for Evil Dead, the Evil Dead trilogy, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, starring Bruce Campbell, who also is in all three of these original Spider-Man films. Little trivia bit there for Bar Trivia Night. The co-president of Naughty Dog, Evan Wells, and Christopher Balestra will serve as quote-unquote creative architects for the movie. And obviously, Bruce Straley and Neil Druckmann will obviously have a big hand. And they got Druckmann to write the script. He also wrote the script and was one of the lead producers on the game itself. Does this make you excited? Are you excited for this, or are you just terribly worried?
First I hear The Last of Us is going to be made into a movie. My excitement level is absolutely zero. I'm like, oh my god, no, horrible idea. And then I'm like, oh, Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley are going to be a part of it. So then it's like, it's still a bad idea, but it's a little better than it was before. So I don't know. I honestly, what I was telling my buddy about was, if they try to copy the game and tell the story of the game in the movie, then I'm not going to be excited about it. But if they try to tell a different story or give us more information from the same universe, basically kind of like telling like a DLC or another game or something, just telling us a little bit more, that is what I would be excited for.
I definitely, like, if they're gonna do this, and I'll be honest, I wish they wouldn't. I think The Last of Us was a fantastic piece of interactive storytelling, and that is what I tell people it is. I'm like, that. Yes, there is a quote unquote game there, but what made that game magical is the fact that it's the player's interaction with the world and your interaction with Ellie as a character. You get out of that game as much as you put into it. If you take the time to sit there and talk to those different characters and get to know them, if you take the time to look into the world, right? There are things that it does as a game that just really don't translate to a cinematic medium,
Yeah.
But if they're going to do it, and if they're going to go ahead and do it, I mean, having Druckmann, having the creative forces behind the game being involved is a good step. Sam Raimi, I like him as a director. I don't know if he's the right fit for this. I mean, I keep thinking the closest thing he's done to this is obviously the Evil Dead movies, and depending on which one you pick, tonally they're all across the board.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can see that they want to do something, but I think if they're going to do it, I definitely like what you said. I don't want it to be about Joel and Ellie. I've seen Joel and Ellie's story. I've been a part of Joel and Ellie's story. There is no draw for me to see that story on the big screen.
Yep. I don't think they could get actors to play the part well enough, to fit the roles we know them as.
I mean, there's the running joke on Reddit. You just cast Ellen Page, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, no. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about the fact that Troy Baker, it was a motion capture. I mean, that was his performance. He was Joel.
Yep.
Just as much as he is Delson in Infamous. And that's the way a lot of the acting for video games goes nowadays, right? It's a lot of motion. It actually is motion capture. It is their acting.
Yep.
I think it would be a disservice to him to a certain degree as an actor to have someone else play the exact same role that he did. I mean, that happens all the time in stage plays, you know? But I don't know. I feel, and maybe this is completely hypocritical of me, but I think this is a totally different type of thing. That's like, that was his character. He made that character,
I agree.
I would hate to see somebody take that and run with it. Even if it's someone like, what if you had Josh Brolin? Fantastic actor. You get him all grizzled. He can totally look the part, to a certain degree, right? It wouldn't feel right because that's not Troy Baker. That's not the Joel. Not only is it not Troy Baker's Joel, but it's not the Joel we've seen before,
Yep.
So, I mean, I want it. If they're going to do it, I definitely want it to be another story. Even if it was something tangentially related, right? If it was something along the lines of, Ish's story.
I was going to say, give us Ish's story. That was what we want.
Where it's like, look, hey, if you're paying attention, do you remember the scrawl you saw on this wall? Hey, he put the scrawl on that wall.
Yeah, they could literally turn that into a 2-hour movie. That could be really intense if they want to walk us through however long that whole section lasted, when he crashed on the beach and everything and until the end. Oh god, that would be awesome.
I mean, there'd be a great sequence in, when they're trapped in the sewers and the kids are there and he's like, we're trying to get away, but we're having to, food becomes an issue. They're having to take out their own people. There's a lot of dramatic moments there. It's like, yeah, tell a side story.
Yep.
Please don't ruin what you created with that original thing.
Don't ruin the original narrative. That's exactly what we want. We want that to stay precious and pure. That is what we want to remember.
Even if, God, worst case scenario, even if it does start Joel, for example, let it be about him and his brother's initial time, That's
Yeah.
left out. Like, you know what? We all know Joel's a terrible person. Well, why is he a terrible person? Like,
Yeah,
what did
show
he do?
us. Show us
Like,
what happened at the beginning.
exactly. Like, oh, he murdered people. That's compelling. Okay.
Show us how
Maybe
he met Tess.
exactly, right? And I mean, and I could maybe swallow that, right?
Yeah.
But I think I would just rather them avoid all of that if possible.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Speaking of Naughty Dog.
Segway!
Amy Hennig, longtime writer and director at Naughty Dog, has left the company. She worked on all the Uncharted series, she wrote and led development and directing, I believe, right? No?
I think I want to say she was lead writing and directing. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. And for Uncharted on PlayStation 4, when she left, Sony has commented saying that the departure will not affect the timeline of the new Uncharted's development, and that Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley will take over where she was on Uncharted for PlayStation 4, which I was thinking about with the last news. Now that they're working on a movie also, how does that not affect Uncharted's timeline?
It depends on how much work was already done on it.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, she could have maybe already had a story written up, and all that would have really been concerned about that portion of production might have already been taken care of. And so it really depends on how much of a hands-on role she was having. She hadn't been doing programming for a while. I mean, she was literally there as a production lead, as a director, and as a writer. So, I mean, Druckmann and Straley might not have that much to pick up on. You know, it's like most of the major legwork, at least for the early pre-production stuff, might already be finished up. You know.
Yeah.
And let's just be honest. Once again, if we just go with the horror scenario and they're just making the game into a movie, they don't have to do much work on the movie.
That's true. That's true. And I was talking to somebody earlier about how how movies are typically announced and then they don't come out for 3 or 4 years down the road. So they may not even be, they're like, okay, next year we'll start working on it or something like that.
This is true. I mean, technically there's I want to say Universal has the licensing for a Metroid movie since like the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it means people will have some of these like movie and game licenses and just hold on to them. So, this story though makes me legitimately sad though. Like I was very upset when I read this. Amy Hennig is an incredible talent in the industry. She worked with Crystal Dynamics for the longest time. One of the first games she worked on was The Legacy of Kain.
Oh, I played that game.
Soul Reaver. That was the first one she worked on. She also worked on the Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City game, which is a completely underrated gem of the 16-bit era. It's terrible, but it stars Michael Jordan throwing flaming basketballs. If you have legal means to get it, you should. And if you don't, just download the ROM. Anyways, she's been doing this for a very long time. She was really one of the big creative forces behind the entire Uncharted series. She wrote one of her big first writing gigs at Naughty Dog was she wrote Jak 3.
Yeah, Jak and Daxter.
Yep. And I mean, basically, she's been one of the most prominent female developers in the industry. And so, I mean, very big deal, very talented lady with a just incredible portfolio of work behind her. And what makes the story very concerning is IGN was reporting that she was forced out, whether by Druckmann and Staley or just the powers that be. That term was used by their source. Now, Sony as well as Naughty Dog have actually released their own press releases since that story came out, saying that no, that's not what happened. There was no forcing. It was all mutual and agreeable. And even Naughty Dog's president, Evan Wells, fantastic. Once again, another guy who's been in the industry for a long time. Mm-hmm. He was like, yeah, no, that's messed up. Neil Druckmann's a great dude. Bruce Staley's a great dude. That would never happen here. Like, we are working on games. Stop asking us questions about this. And I was like, whoa, that's some strong words.
Yeah, he also said, he was like, we normally don't comment on rumors and speculation, but this is a big enough deal that it's hurting the reputation of two of our developers, and we don't want that. They're good guys.
I mean, what's interesting is IGN still sticking to their guns on this, saying that no, this is what their source said, and obviously it's an inside source, not going to be revealed. And there's something to be said with you take everything you ever hear with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if I'll say this, even if there's a half truth to it, right? Like forced out might be a strong word, but there might have been pressure from parties. You know what I mean?
Or it may have just been a disagreement.
Exactly. Like no matter what it may have been, the fact that she's leaving Naughty Dog is just incredibly unfortunate for that studio.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to be very interested to see sort of where she goes. I guarantee you she has people lining up to ask her to come work for them. I would not be surprised if developers, not even developers, but like big guys like 2K or Take-Two or even Microsoft coming up and be like, hey, do you want your own studio? Like, get your own team together and make something.
I was going to say that in the comment section of the story, or all these stories, and then on Facebook everywhere, everyone keeps saying, oh my God, Microsoft, jump on this. Grab her right now because she will make you a game seller,
Well, I mean, it's sort of one of the running jokes I've seen coming across the internet is that, even though Black Tusk, Microsoft's new quote unquote, the studio that was supposed to be designed to make their new next gen, new IP is now working on the Gears stuff. It's like, why don't you go hire Amy and then take Gears away from Black Tusk and have them go back and have her along with that team create something new.
Yep.
Point being, she's going to be fine, like career-wise. It's just the circumstances surrounding her departure very clouded at this point, and it just and none of it paints a good picture, to say the least. And it's very unfortunate because, like I said, she is such an incredible talent in the industry, and to see something like this crop up and even having a shred of negative light is just super unfortunate.
I agree. It sucks for Naughty Dog is what it sucks for. It sucks for all of their games because their games are so great. Everyone keeps saying every time Naughty Dog releases a game, it's amazing, and eventually they're gonna fuck up. Now this might be where one of these next games is gonna be bad or not as good as the previous ones.
It's true.
Worrisome.
I mean, I'm going to be curious to see at this point now the tone of Uncharted for the PS4. If it stays sort of that lighthearted Indiana Jones-esque feel, or with the two new guys in charge, if they take it down more of a serious path. And just personally, I think I'd be very disappointed by that because I love Uncharted for how sort of, Drake's a mass murderer. He mows down dudes.
Yeah.
But the moment that cutscene, he's just laughing like the day is not even over. It's like, oh, treasure. You're like, wait.
Sorry.
Now,
see, I was thinking a little bit down the road. What if when Uncharted 4 comes out, and what kind of criticism is it going to get? And is the criticism that it gets, are we going to tie it back to her leaving? Anything bad about Uncharted 4, is everyone going to blame her leaving or is that going to be connected?
I think as silly as it sounds, it depends on when the game comes out. The internet's memory is really short.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be equated to the memory of a goldfish. I mean, no one gives any craps whatsoever about the Xbox 180 stuff that's happened. Like, it's like that happened, honest to God, like 8-9 months ago. It is not that far back in time, relatively speaking.
That's true.
It's like we have other stuff to bitch and moan and whine about and complain about. And so, I mean, I think if Uncharted 4 Uncharted for the PS4, because this doesn't have an Uncharted 4 necessarily, I think if it does have issues, I think any logic and reasonable person would be like, hey, this might have had a hand in it. I just don't think, sadly enough, we will remember the story come the time that game comes out. Because I don't think that game's coming out this year. I think it's coming out probably next year.
Yeah, it'll probably be next fall. So We'll find out, though. And if it does come out next fall, that'll be long enough down the road that people will probably forget about it or just won't care. Like, whatever.
Exactly.
By then, she'll be making the next Halo game for Microsoft, whatever.
That's true. But this last week, this was a week of leavings.
This was.
It was a week of sorrow for those of us who have been longtime gamers, because one of our best and brightest has finally stepped down. Jack Tretton, Mr. I ushered in the PS4 era. Mr. I helped create the original PlayStation. Has finally left Sony Computer Entertainment of America. This little bit of a man tear when I love Amy Hennig's work, but when I saw that Jack was gone, I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. That actually was like, oh, this is the end of a thing. Because I don't. Let me ask you. Did you have an original PlayStation when it came out?
Yeah, absolutely. I had original PlayStation and the PS1, so
Yeah.
I had both. That is okay. Let's talk about this right now. Jack left on the highest fucking note he could possibly leave. He left as a rock star.
I mean, the guy came out at this last E3 press conference when to Radioactive, welcome to the new age, as he's walking on stage, arms wide open, as people are just cheering, like the guy's got balls. He's been doing this a while. He knows what he's doing, and yeah, I mean, I think he's been doing this for, 14, 15 years at this point, right? Working for Sony Computer Entertainment America, right? He's been doing this
19.
19? God, man, yeah, it's been that long. Anyways, 90, yeah, that's the thing, 95.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways, point being, he's been doing this a long time, and I guarantee you, as good as he is at it, the dude was probably tired. It's like, I've been doing this for a while, and you know what? Yeah, let's. I think it's time to go out when we're on top.
See, sorry, go on, continue.
No, I'll say I respect the man greatly as a businessman, and I think if you're gonna say like I'm out, this is the time to do it. It's like, you know what? People are going to, when you leave, remember the successes as opposed to remembering the harder times and let's be honest, the failures that was like the early lifespan of the PS3, for sure.
Yeah, he became the CEO and president the year the PlayStation 3 was released in 2006. And so he went through a tough few years there at the beginning. And I almost would bet money that he was ready to leave Sony probably a year or two ago, but he was like, I got to see the PlayStation 4 released. I've got to see it through to the end, and now he's leaving before the fiscal year is over. So like he saw the release, and now he's out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he probably, I guarantee you, he's part of the reason that Sony sort of changed how they were spearheading the PlayStation 4 development. I mean, between him, Mark Cerny, and a lot of those original architects coming in being like, hey, we need to make this easier to program for, easier to develop for, we need to make it gamers oriented first,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of his leadership, a lot of, like I said, Cerny's programming, and a lot of his guide that way, I said, Jack's been doing this a while, and I definitely agree that he was like, I'm going to see this through. We're going to get through this launch for good or for ill. I guarantee you if it had gone poorly, this would still be him leaving.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be with as much fanfare. It's like, nope, you are leaving with one hell of a success under your belt,
Now, alternate reasons for him leaving, I've been seeing a lot of it's about contract issues, about he wanted a raise and they didn't want to give him the raise that he wanted.
See, I'll be honest, I haven't heard that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he asked for a raise. The guy ushered in, like, Sony back into the mainstream. It's like, yep, PlayStation 4, that's the thing right now,
Yeah.
But at the same time, once again, any rumor with a grain of salt. I don't know. I feel like Sony would be smarter than that, because the fact is, these guys nowadays are not just businessmen; they're also personalities to a certain degree.
Oh, yeah.
They have to go out on stage at places like GDC, at E3, these different conferences and different conventions and whatnot, and they have to have a certain charisma and a certain like showmanship to them, and there's something about Jack Tretton when he goes on stage. You just listen to the man. You're like, I mean, he has the same chutzpah that Reggie has. I mean, I've always the Nintendo has always been a big part of my life. I love Nintendo as a company. I love watching Reggie talk because Reggie will sit there and he'll be like, "My body is ready." And I'm like, "I believe you, Reggie. My body is ready now. Like, I'm with you.
Let's do this."
He's like, "Give me the games." I'm like, "Yes, I will give." Wait, I don't have the games. You give me the games. Like, and Jack Tretton was the same way. He'd come out and be like, "Guys, this is for gamers. This is for you." And I'm like, "I believe you." I will follow you into hell.
Lead us, master.
I mean, Peter Moore was the same way for Microsoft. Still is. Obviously, helps run their sports stuff. There's just certain guys who their main 90% of their job is sitting at a desk, planning stuff, shooting emails, running meetings, right? And doing production work, on a very corporate level. But there's this small part of it that's like, no, you got to get in front of people and you got to make people care.
and that's what we all of us gamers know them as. We
Exactly.
know them as that personality, and that's not even what they do.
Exactly. That's all we see, and that's what we take them as. Like I said, this is going back to the names that we recognize. Like Reggie Fils-Aimé could be the best goddamn dude at Nintendo, right, business wise. But if he came out on stage and was like, "Hey, welcome to Nintendo. Here's a Mario game. Is your body ready for Mario games? It should be. Here's a Mario game." Everyone would be like, "Dude, who the fuck are you? Like, get off the stage. You're terrible." It's like, and that would reflect. I mean, for whatever reason, that would reflect poorly on Nintendo because, like, oh, this is the face of your company. This is your guy. That's his excitement for Mario. I'm not excited for Mario because he's not, And so, I mean, they do have that that public persona they have to have, and Jack had for over years at this point had cultivated that to where he became, recognizable to those of us, much like Reggie, much like Peter, have been for their respective companies, who've been doing this for a while. And it's they've already they basically said that Sean Layden will be taking over the position. He's the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. Now he's going to be the Chief Executive Officer for you business type folks out there. For Sony Network Entertainment International. Obviously, another branch of one of Sony's many branches. Obviously, have you seen any video of this guy?
No, the name sounds familiar for some reason, but I don't recognize it. So
yeah, maybe he was one of the guys on the E3 press conference. I don't know. But yeah, I will be curious to see. In my mind, E3 has gotten just a hair more interesting for the most minuscule and dumb of reasons. I want to see this new guy. I'm like, all right, like you're gonna be the new face for the foreseeable future. Let's see what you got.
I don't recognize him.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to hope, especially because he's probably, I don't know how trained he is, if you will, for talking to a certain audience, ergo the gaming journalism and guys like us. I'm definitely putting my vote in. I would love to see more of Shuhei Yoshida and Adam Boyes on stage. Those guys have a lot of fans now.
Yep.
Shuhei's Twitter feed is hilarious. Adam Boyes, same way. They definitely are all about communicating on a more personal level with gamers out there. So I'd not be surprised if you see more of them. But yeah, so this new guy, he's no Jack. He's no Jack, and I don't know you, I'm gonna pour one out for him.
When I think about Jack, I'm gonna remember a few moments from E3 this year, and those were like the announcement of the price and everything, like the fan reaction, or it was not even fans; they were journalists who were there at that press conference who started cheering, going nuts over that announcement, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like he is a freaking rock star right now.
Yep. I'll always have that one. I'll have the one where they had Kevin Butler come on stage and present with Jack, cracking some jokes back and forth when Kevin Butler was still a thing.
Oh yeah,
Vice President of Awesome. Good times.
Those are good commercials.
Yeah. Jack Tretton, no longer at SCEA. That's unfortunate.
You know who Boogie 2988 is?
No.
You don't? He's a YouTube personality. He's a big dude. He makes those funny videos where he acts like some retarded kid or whatever. Anyways, he's a video game personality, basically internet personality. He tweeted out earlier, reading up a bit on Jack Tretton stepping down from Sony. Looks like a simple matter of money, nothing other than that. Apparently negotiations about a salary bump fell through, and Jack is off to lead someone else to success. Can it please be EA?
EA has more problems than management.
Yeah.
They release broken games.
Every time.
Not playing Battlefield 4 until it's playable.
That'll never happen. Did you hear there's a Battlefield game coming this year?
Oh God.
Yeah, I heard an announcement like, oh God, Blogspot or something like that last night, or I don't even remember, GameSpot, where like the producers behind Battlefield said that the technical issues with Battlefield 4 have not hurt them financially, and that they plan to release another Battlefield game later this year.
Well, that's interesting because Battlefield's always been on a 2-year cycle as opposed to a yearly cycle.
Yep.
So interesting. Well, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So that wraps up the news. Do we want to go into anything else? Do we want to?
And nothing really else has happened this week. So I mean, we wanna. Do you want to go and answer? It looks like Dennis sent us maybe a question or two. Answer one of his real quick.
Yeah,
let's give him a quick little shout out.
Dennis asks, which one of our most faithful listeners actually. He actually commented on our post of the earlier podcast this week, the short one, and he was like, "This one was really short," or something like that with a sad face. And I was like, "I'm so sorry, Dennis. We will make it up to you." So he asks, "What is a game you can always pick up and play just the hell out of?"
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple that I sort of like are my fallback games, like the ones that I always like just go back to.
Okay.
I've always been a fighting game guy, so I mean, I'll sit there and Street Fighter 4 current, like I mean, that's obviously the most current iteration of the game.
Yeah.
But I can sit there and just throw that in and just play that for hours. Just actually like gameplay wise though, like if I actually want to play like a game, if you will, because I mean, obviously. Street Fighter is more of an arcade setup, right? It's like, you just keep fighting until you just pass out, right?
Yeah.
I Portal 2. Okay. That's the game. I'll sit there and I'll be like, it can be 2 a.m. and I'm like, I need to flex my brain, and I'll just throw that in, have a good chuckle, and some bad jokes, and just shoot away puzzles, send myself into an endless loop, and just play that forever. I mean, that game is just so good and just so well done mechanically. It's just. I usually sit and I'll play through Portal 2 at least once a year. Only other game that I do that as well too is I'll do a full run on the next gen Ratchet and Clank games. I'll go through Tools of Destruction, Quest for Booty, and Crack in Time. I'll play through all 3 of those about once a year. Those games are just Insomniac, just so well done. And unfortunately, because I am always late to the party on certain things, I have not played Into the Nexus, which is sort of like the finale to that set of games, and I'm like, I should totally play that. And it's going to be about that time where I'll do a run again, and so I'm probably going to sit there and I will tack that one on to the end of it and be like, all right, I have now, because I played all the original ones, I've played through these. So yeah, like it just depends on my mood, but yeah, I would say that the games Street Fighter, Portal 2, and give me some old fashioned Ratchet and Clank. That's sort of I can just play the freaking hell out of those games, just hours, and just sink time into it, and it'll get way too late, and I'll have to open the store the next morning and be like, I didn't sleep at all. This is unfortunate for me.
As for me, like if I just want to sit down and play a mindless game and just play the hell out of it, that would be any of the Mario games. Like I could just sit down and play Mario for hours at any time. It doesn't matter, like mood wise. And that's one of the few games that I could just sit down and play whenever. It doesn't matter. But if I wanted to like dive into a game and just play the hell out of it, it would be one of 3 different series. It would be like an Elder Scrolls game. I could dive into that. Well, okay. God, if I'm going to say that, I would say Fallout or Elder Scrolls. But other than that, it would be an Assassin's Creed game or a Tales game. Because I'm partial to the Tales series. Oh my God, I love them too much.
I'll give you the time sink that is the Bethesda games.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my former roommates, Stuart, he would sit there and there would be, I don't know how many times I would come in, and he would just have Skyrim or Fallout booted up, and I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you've already beaten this thing like 3-4 times. And he's just like, I want to be a murder death wizard, and I'm like, okay, and he would always be a new string of words, but they'd always be in reference to what guilds he has joined at that point.
Yep.
So, Murder Death Wizard, he was a part of the Dark Brotherhood, part of the Mage, and he was also a thief. So he's like, I'm a Murder Death Wizard. And I'm like, okay, that's good for you.
Fair
you
enough.
Also know dragon shots? And he's like, I shout the hell out of things. And I'm like, good for you. But yeah, I mean, those games can seriously just, you can put so much time into those and still really never complete them.
Yeah, a story I like to tell people is when I first got Skyrim, I waited for midnight. You know, I showed up like 4 hours early with my best friend, and we got it on midnight release. We came home and we drank a shitload of Mountain Dew and energy drinks and stuff, and just stayed up the rest of the night playing, and the rest of the next day. And we played the crap out of that game. He had his own TV in my room and his own his own Xbox 360, and we were playing them next to each other basically for the next like 2 weeks. And we each put in probably 120 to 150 hours in those next 2 weeks of Skyrim. And we were both only about like 3 story missions into the game at that point, and we both just burnt out. We were like, no, we can't fucking play this game anymore. And we didn't play it again for another 2 years. It took me until this past year to finally beat Skyrim.
That game.
Oh, so much.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's just, there's a lot of people I know who just, that is their time sink, where they're like, you know what, some people play WoW, I play Skyrim. And I'm like, good for you, you do that. I've honestly, I've played Skyrim, I've played Fallout, and I usually get maybe about halfway through the story and miscellaneous side quests, and I just burn out. I'm like, nope, I'm done. Like I've put in like 20 something hours into this, and I don't feel compelled. Like there's too much here, and I have other stuff I want to play.
Yep, exactly. It's so overwhelming to jump into one of those games. Good times. All right, do you want to ask another one of his questions?
Sure, we'll do one more. Let's see. Let's just do this one because it's funny. What do you think? We'll just do only half of it too, because it's big question. What do you think of the possibility of The Last Guardian coming to the PS4? That game's been in development hell forever. I would stake pizza on it that we'll never see it again. But
Shuhei insists that it's still being worked on.
Yeah, I mean, they were insisting that Final Fantasy Versus 13 was still in development, but they said, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and change it to 14 so we can stop saying that.
15.
Or 15. You're right. 15.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the name. Actually, I didn't think about that until you mentioned Final Fantasy. They could change the name just to kind of get the monkey off their backs for a while. The game's probably going to come out. Honestly, I don't know if it matters anymore. Like it's going to be cool. Like it's going to make you cry. It's already been decided. Everyone knows if you played a team Eco game before, Team Ico. Can't remember. I call it Eco.
Everybody knows you always cry in those games. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed to make you feel like shit. Everybody knows either that little cat dragon or the kid's gonna die. I just, once again, talking about games that have been revealed too early, going back to one of our earlier stories, Last Guardian, when it came out, big splash, everyone's like, oh my god, the game's gonna give us all the feels, cat, dragon thing, dog thing. And then they're like, it's coming out. And like it starts that nice echo chamber. It's like, wait, I thought it was coming out. Did you say that? It's like further in the cave, it's still coming out. Trust us.
Eventually.
it's like, wait, what was that? It's coming out. Oh, okay, sure. I guarantee you the reason it's taking so long at this point is because they're probably porting it to the PS4, and good for them. It's gonna be cool. I'll play it. Obviously I've played the other games. They're fun. Shadow of the Colossus is still probably in my, I'd say, top 5 PS2 games. And I would probably argue it's probably in my top 10 games ever. I really love that game. I thought it was fantastic. Excuse me, burp there. Gross. Is that caramel macchiato coming back up?
Oh.
I know, I'm a fancy hipster motherfucker. But I just, once again, cool, it's coming. And when if and when it shows, I'll be excited again. But right now it's sort of like okay, cool. I'm going to hope and cross fingers that we see it at E3 this year. But hey, maybe The Last Guardian is Sony's Half-Life 3. Maybe it's never going to come. We'll all hope for it, but it'll never show.
It's certainly been going on long enough waiting long enough that it could be that. So
true enough.
Okay, so let's wrap this up with the game releases. PlayStation 3 this week, The Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 2 came out. Master Reboot came out. And South Park, The Stick of Truth Was that a cat?
That is one of my cats, yes.
Perfect. Okay. On PlayStation 4, Awesome Knots Assemble, and Dead Nation Apocalypse Edition, which we just got done playing a little bit.
Yes, unfortunately the servers are not the greatest right now, so just fair warning. We had a really great run. It got cut short because just random connection issues. So be aware if you are trophy hunting, you do it in spurts when you know it's working, and then take your winnings and go.
Don't invest too much time in it.
Exactly. Coming out on the Vita was Hatsune Miku Project Diva F. If you guys know what that is, cool. I know what it is, but let's just be honest, it's a really niche thing. It's a little weird. It's definitely a Japanese game, so enjoy that.
Yeah.
On the Xbox 360, this is going to sound very familiar. Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 2, A House Divided. South Park, The Stick of Truth. Xbox One, nothing. So, yeah, enjoy that, Xbox One users. I'm sorry, I wish I had something to say there.
Next week's their big week, so they can champion guys, next week.
Don't worry, we will cheer for you then. On the PC, some deja vu all over again. Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 2, A House Divided, and South Park, Stick of Truth, and guess what? A bunch of indie stuff and other random PC games, because it's the PC, it's Steam, it has freaking everything.
All the time.
All the time.
I was looking at the list and there was like 20 of them, and I was like, nope, not happening.
Indeed.
On
the Wii U, the aptly named Block Drop U, not to be confused with the Block Drop Me or the Block Drop Your Mama. And then on the 3DS, the Mysterious Cities of Gold, Secret Paths, and Vacation Adventures, Park Ranger. I don't know about you, Courtney, but when I think of an adventure I want to have on a vacation, I think, I want to be a park ranger. Because I love telling people that only they, and only they, can prevent forest fires.
I was like, I wonder where the hell he's going with this.
Smokey the Bear.
Creepy the Bear.
When you think about it, he comes up on people and he's like, hey. I mean, it's like Batman of the forest. Full circle there. Anyways, so that's your releases for this week. Some really good stuff and some stuff that you might as well just not even acknowledge.
Even though Dead Nation is having issues, everybody should check it out. It is a fun as hell game. It is really fun. And
it's free if you have PlayStation Plus. Just put it in your queue if you're not going to play it right now. But let's be honest. What do you have on your PS4 right now that's taking up all that memory space? Just go ahead and download it and delete it when you need it.
And for those of you who have not played The Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 2, if you want to check out our review, it is on the website, middleofnowheregaming.com. So check out our review if you're interested.
Indeed. It's really good, guys. You should check it out.
So that wraps up episode 23, which was in the same week as episode 22 of the Middle of Nowhere Gaming podcast.
Double shipping, folks, because we care.
Because we care. We want content out there. We might do 2 podcasts a week for a while, or you never know. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
Our normal schedule is that we record on Wednesdays and release on Thursdays. So if you have any questions you want us to answer on the podcast, you can email us at mong.podcast@gmail.com, or you can submit it to our Facebook at Middle of Nowhere Gaming Mong, or on Twitter at Mong Podcast. Or you could just message any one of us. You could find us all on there just as easily by searching our names. But be sure to check out the website every day, because we do have new writers who are putting up stories each and every day, sometimes 10 to 15 stories a day. So go to middleofnowheregaming.com to find all of our latest news, reviews, previews, and all that good stuff. And read up on Twitch Plays Pokemon. Yeah.
This is true. Yeah, see the plug. Nice.
Yeah.
Guys, check out the site. Read all of these youngins' exuberance in their posts. It's delightful. So yeah, I got a good set of news groups coming up. A lot of cool features coming up in the pipeline too. So definitely swing by the site. I know we would all appreciate it. It makes us feel like, hey, we're doing something here.
We're doing something.
It's a big deal. I like it. It's fun times.
So you can find us on Twitter. You can find me at underscore
Nope.
Osborne _ 2009 OSBORN _ 2009.
And you can find me at errant _ thoughts, because I think too much, and I was being way too witty at the time. And if you want to find the other guys who occasionally pop up on the podcast, you can find Brendan at Brendan Jester, and Lou at Lou Cantaldi.
Yeah. So anyways, until next time, thank you all for listening. Peace out.
Whoop!
Whoop. Oh, sorry. I was not expecting that.
I was like, I should say something at the end. I have nothing but this noise.
Oh. God. It's funnier now. Oh dear. Okay.